Hello, this is Vaishali and I'm reading from the book Spirit of Homeopathy, book written by Dr. Rajan Sankaran, uh, section 4, materia medica, chapter number 40, discovering the situational materia medica of the remedies. How do you discover the central state of the remedy? What is the method you use to understand the remedy? This can be best illustrated with a remedy I have never used, because then we will be look purely at the materia medica and trying to understand it from the symptom recorded in the proving alone, rather than in terms of what we have seen in clinical practice. We will take the remedy Hura brasiliensis, of which I have never read any cases. Not only is there no clinical experience from my side, but hardly any clinical experience is available. I read each remedy in various materia medica, but I have especially been using the book Materia Medica of the Human Mind by Dr. M.L. Agrawal. This doctor has rendered a unique service to homeopathy by producing an alphabetical list of mental symptoms of each remedy appearing in the Kent Repertory. He has also demarcated the single remedy symptom. Hura brasiliensis has the following single symptom: cheerful in morning at 8 am. Delusion thinks she is about to lose her friends. Delusion sees person hanging 3 feet from the ground on falling asleep. Fever on going to bed. Fear of misfortune in the afternoon at 2 p.m. Laughing followed by chill. Every paroxysm of pain excite a nervous laugh. Weeping when singing. Among the delusions are: delusion has lost affection of the friend. Delusion alone world in he. In the delusion, his friend have lost all confidence in him. Delusion sees dead person. Delusion deserted for second. Delusion floating in air. Delusion he is unfortunate. Delusion sees spectres, ghost, spirit. Delusion despise that he is. Delusion fancy herself lost. Delusion repudiated by relatives. Delusion of recovery. Delusion of despair of religious of salvation. Other feeling that the remedy has are anxiety about salvation, affectionate thoughts of death and desire for death, discontented fear of misfortune, second feeling sensation of the isolation, indifference to pleasure, sadness, sulky, feels unfortunate, reproaches himself. Among some of the actions are biting himself, biting his hand, break things desire to, destructive, impatience, obstinate, restless, causeless weeping. If we study all these symptoms of Hura brasiliensis, we find a lot of them have to do with the 4-second feeling. There is a specific feeling of 4-secondness, which is reflected in the delusion that she is about to lose her friend, that her friend have lost affection or her. People are casting her away. They do not want her. Therefore, she is alone in the world. She is not liked by anyone. She is despised and hated. Why has this happened? Because of bad luck, she is unfortunate. This feeling is strong. It is my bad luck that something has happened to me, because of which I have lost my friends and they have started hating me. Now, when I think about this, I ask myself, what is the situation in which these feelings are justified? Here is the situation of the man who has lost the affection of his friends. All his friends and relatives now hate him and do not want him. They have cast him away, and so he feels very left out and forsaken, isolated, and feels unfortunate. The rubric despair of recovery means that it is difficult for him to recover from this position. the chances of getting back to the original positions are very slim. So there is a sadness and mental depression. He becomes quite frustrated and bored. He can get destructive, even destructive of himself. He gets angry with himself, bite himself, feel unfortunate and reproach himself. Various possibilities occur. Maybe he has committed a big crime. If that was the case, anxiety of conscience and delusion he is a criminal should have been there. But they are not in this uh, medicine. What is available is unfortunate feeling. Some misfortune has happened, so what could the misfortune be that has made his relative hate him? What could the misfortune be from which he cannot recover? When I go into this feeling, I get a strong impression of a leprosy. A leper is a man who through stroke of bad luck comes into the position where all his friends have deserted him, they hate him, despise him, lose affections for him, and however much he tries, he cannot compensate. The old feeling cannot return, and once a leper is always be leper. All this reminded me of how leper were treated in the past. Even nowadays, they are isolated, cast away, nobody wants them and nobody cares for them. Forsaken, deserted, repudiated by the relatives and lost the affection of the friends. Despair of recovery, bite himself, etc. All this fit into the one situations. I am not saying that this is the only situation, but what I am saying is that Hura Brasiliensis feels like a leper. That is the feeling one can get from the reading the totality of the Hura Brasiliensis of mental symptoms. It may be in my it may be in any situations he feels like a leper, feels cast away and hated with the no chance of coming back. This is the theme of Hura Brasiliensis. When I got this idea, you can imagine my joy when I went through the Clark dictionary and found that Hura Brasiliensis has been proved and it has brought out the base symptom in people who had leprosy in the past. And Hura Brasiliensis is a known remedy for the leprosy too. I am not saying that the Hura should be used in the leprosy, but what I am saying is that leprosy could have been one of the original situation in which the Hura state must have been produced. There could be only similar situation. So any person who is normal in life has this feeling, though he is not a leper, he requires Hura Brasiliensis. I imagine that Hura could be a remedy for AIDS patient. Probably they might have this same feeling. It is quite possible for an AIDS patient to have this same feeling, but if you find that the feeling in AIDS patients is it is not important. It does not indicate the remedy unless the feeling is overwhelming. If any of these symptoms come out in leper or in AIDS patients or in a person in a similar situations, such as state becomes common, therefore we have to search for symptoms that are uncommon, outside of the known and recognized situation. For a leper to be feel despised and hated is very common. We have to see something else there behind this. From this despised feeling, what feeling is he getting? He is getting the feeling, nobody likes me, nobody wants me, what will I do for food? One leper may feel like this, another one will feel like I am not liked, I am not wanted. What will happen to my daughter? Maybe they will say that she is the daughter of a leper. How will she get married? This is a strong feeling in the second leper. The feeling of being unwanted would be common in most of leper. It does not individualize any one of them. It is what is uncommon, what is peculiar, that denote that what is basic and not what is situational. If this feelings comes in person who is not a leper nor an AIDS patient, but though then Hura Brasiliensis will be the remedy, because that will be the his basic state, which is not due to the situation. In person who is a similar situation, we have to search for symptoms beyond his situation. Look for the symptom that reflect his individuality. In a person who is not in that situation, these feelings would be the highly characteristic and the remedy would be indicated without any doubt. Once we understand the situation of Fura and its basic feelings and reactions, we have to compare it with other remedies which have similar feeling. Like Lac Caninum has got tremendous contempt for himself and he feels worthless and has such a feeling as a delusion that sees looked down upon, delusion that sees diminished short, delusion that sees despised, delusion that sees dirty, wants of self-confidence. So these two remedies comes very close. There will be confusion. There will be confusion. What is striking in Lac Caninum is it marked hatred, maliciousness, desire for company, want of moral feeling, anxiety from doubt of success, undertakes many things but preserve at nothing. Absent-minded and antagonism with himself. Now, what does all this show? We see that Lac Caninum has also the feeling of being left out and rejected, a feeling of low self but she blames somebody else. That means somebody else is responsible for her condition and therefore she developed the hatred and malice. This feeling is I am responsible but somebody else is also responsible. In Hura, I am not okay, you are okay. In Lac Caninum, I am not okay, you are also not okay. And in anacardium, lack of confidence and malice and hatred and cruelty. The anacardium patient is one who is suppressed very badly so that his confidence is shaken and he develops hatred and malice. Lac Caninum is in similar situations found. One step further from anacardium is where the patient has been literally thrown out of the house. Then she developed the feeling, everything is okay with me, but it is you who are the devil. Like platinum, delusion devil everybody is and that she is a great. In Hura, it is quite obvious that there are delusion. What about the remedies like Calicia Sulf and where there are no any delusion? Where there are no delusion listed in the remedy, then I study the other symptoms of the drug. One thing is sure that all symptoms of the remedy are based upon the delusion, every single symptom without exception. Because delusion is disease and since symptoms are an expression of the disease, they can be expressed as delusion. So from the expression, we to go to the delusion. In the expression itself, delusion is available. If you are able to perceive it, so what will you do with a remedy in which no marked delusion is available? So I study the single symptom of the remedy. Symptoms against which only one remedy is found in the repertory are single symptom. When we study the single symptom, we are able to get single delusion. For example, Calicia Sulf has two single symptoms. Laminating, appreciated because he is not, hatred of person who do not agree with him. Based on those two symptoms, we can build up the whole picture of the Calicia sulfurica. I have had several confirmation of this remedy in my clinical practice. Let us analyze this one by one. Laminating, appreciated because he is not. What are the symptoms? First is laminating, means is complaining. What is the difference between complaining and laminating? Complaint, utterance of the grievance. Laminate, passionate expression of the grief. So it is much more in a degree that than of a complaint. Complaint is merely to say something, and lament means it to say the same things with a lot of passion or a force. The situation is of a man who is not appreciated, who feels somebody else is appreciated. The situation is one who is jealous and so lamented. I have to make a passionate complaint of my grief that nobody cares for me. Nobody does me good. It shows a situation of a dependence. He does not break away and go, but is dependent and afraid of going away. So we see the rubric, timidity, fear at night and fear of dark. He is a person who belongs to a family on whom he is dependent. The patient have 3 children and he is a second of or the third child, he has not yet learned to struggle on his own, cannot be independent, but the patients appreciate the other children more than him. So he laminates passionately so that they come to know what he is feeling, but they do not always listen, as we see in the situation. So we have sadness, mental depression, and at the time he does nothing but just sits quiet and meditate. There is a discontented feeling, irritability and despair. There are people who come and tell him, no, you are talking nonsense. Actually, everybody is being treated fairly. But this does not sound true to him. And for such a people, he develops hatred. Hatred for the person who do not agree with him. Therefore, he is called obstinate, quarrelsome, and also malicious. This is the picture of Calcula sulfurica. You can say Calcula sulfurica is the third daughter, and the second daughter is much more beautiful than her. All the attention of the family is directed towards the beautiful looking one. All the clothes are being given to her. All the jewelry is being given to her. She even gets married first. These girls cannot break away, and so she tried to tell everybody that she is not being treated fairly. But nobody listened to her, or they say she is just imagining it. So she developed a hatred for those people. In the chapter of delusion, I told of the girl who came into my clinic and said, "Doctor, I have come here to quarrel with you. Why are you giving attention to all your patients but not to me? You must have some bad feeling towards me. You do not like me as much as you like others." Again, the same laminating that she is not appreciated, hatred, malice, obstinate, quarrelsome, offended easily, sadness, depression, debility, and dependency too. So I said to her, "Why should I differentiate between you and other patients? I am not your father," and everything cooled down. She started laughing. I gave her a Calculus sulfurica. We must study the materia medica carefully, symptom after symptom, and try to understand from where the symptom comes, what they mean and what the delusion is. We may not find the delusion explicitly mentioned. For example, I had a patient in whom everything fitted to Barada curve. She was feeling as if she had no friends. I took the rubric delusion friendless he is, but there was no Barada curve. Then I look at the 4-second feeling. Then no Barata curve is present. So where it is given, you will find goes off alone, weeps as if she had no friends under weeping. That is the delusion. Of course, but it is not the basic delusion. Why does she feel friendless? Because she cannot remain without the friend, which shows dependency. And this point is given under delusion. Beloved friend is sick and dying. Without that friends, how shall I survive? This is the fear. She feels as if her legs are cut off and she is walking on her knees. And this is the dependency again. So we see the feature: craving for company, irresolution about trifle, anxiety about trifles, cannot do anything on her own, feels people are laughing at her. This is the Barada curve. How easy to understand the dependent man. The lame man is Barada curve. Literally a man who has his legs cut off and dwarf, and 3.5 foot man, especially the normal man who feels he is so. There are many methods to understand the remedies. One is through delusion and rubrics. Then there are other methods. I believe one of the best methods to really understand the remedy is prove it on yourself, and then you will get the exact feeling, and you can almost forget about the rubric. The only problem is that you will not be able to prove many remedies in your own life. So your materia medica will be short. If you only depend on that, then the Jurgen Becker of the Germany is doing this. He will prove the remedy on himself and on some voluntaries, and then hear them and try to feel the experience of the remedy, the situation of the remedy, especially through the dream. Unfortunately, our dreams chapter in the repertory is not so good. The reason is they have given the dream but not the sequence of the dreams. If they have given the exact sequence of the dream and the feeling of the dreamer, then it would have been more useful. So Jurgen Becker tries to get the whole sequence and the feeling behind the dream, and from this he attempts to understand the remedy. He does not use the repertory so much or even the materia medica. His descriptions of the remedy are very impressive coming from the direct experience. My method is more analytic, but at the particular level, I can also feel the remedy. I am able to feel the difference between the remedies and reduce them down to the rubric, and also make them very standard, so that it is not just my opinion but how it recorded in the book. When Bakers and I compare notes, we found our idea to be very similar. It was a fantastic. He did not know many rubrics and I did not know any of the dream, and both of us were saying the very similar things. For me, this was to study a remedy through situational materia medica is very exciting. Otherwise, it is just a copying of the idea, copying of the prescriptions. If we have the idea of how to study a remedy, we can discover a remedy on our own. Can you give us some guidelines? Some remedies were very difficult to get, some were rather easy. Here are some guidelines. The situations we are talking about should not be very uncommon situations. In fact, they should be as common as the remedy is common. We should not postulate that sulfur is like a king who has lost his kingdom, and there are not many kings now. We have to relate this to something more common. The most helpful guide is our feeling. If we look at this remedy and study the symptom of the mind from the source book, we will be able to feel the state within ourselves, and there will occur a connection with some situation in our own life.